Jade just jumps in at perfect timing. Yeah, we've heard from Olivia. Right, so welcome. I believe this is our last ever student council meeting for the year. Oh, so I just wanted to open up by just say thank you to everyone for having coming to all these meetings and all your hard work throughout the year. I think we've all achieved quite a bit this year, and it's been a troublesome and tricky time, but I think we're on the up and up. Um, So we're just going to jump straight into it, really. Anna has joined us today. Anna's been doing a lot of work on revising the student disciplinary procedures. Um, and take it away, Anna, please.
Lovely. Well, thank you for letting me come along to your meeting. I'll just introduce myself to start with. So my name is Anna Johns. I'm head of student procedures at Christchurch. So what we do in student procedures, if you've never heard of it before, is we look after all of the formal complaints, academic appeals, disciplinary cases, stage 3 academic misconduct, and we also sort of manage the procedures for ECs and TLAs. So anything to do with any of those, we usually will have some involvement at some point. And one of the things that we've been working on, myself and colleagues across the university and a number of students, and particularly Ellie Martin as well from the Student Union, this year is looking at revising the student disciplinary procedures. And what that consists of is sort of several parts. It has in it the Student Code of Conduct, it has in it the unacceptable behaviour policy, and then it also has obviously the disciplinary procedures themselves. So the reason we wanted to revise it is a lot to do with the Office for Students, a statement of expectations around how they expect universities to deal with cases of sexual misconduct and harassment. But we also wanted to revise it anyway because we've been using it now for a few years, and there's some bits that don't really work that well. There's some bits that are really bureaucratic, some bits that we were getting feedback from staff and students that it just was, it just wasn't working very well. So we wanted to look at it all. So we've been working on that for quite a long time, and I sent to you the latest version of the unacceptable behaviour policy, and I sent to you the latest version of the disciplinary procedures. And I also sent to you something that is new that we've just developed, and that is a separate procedure to deal with sexual misconduct cases. I say separate, it is actually it's intended to be part of the disciplinary procedure, but what we wanted to try and do was kind of show that the university wanted to slightly tailor any disciplinary cases that involved sexual misconduct and harassment. So, for example, we might slightly change the way we deal with the safeguarding aspect, or the information sharing aspect, or the risk assessment aspect. And so where the sexual misconduct procedures differ from the disciplinary procedures, that's where you'll see slightly different kind of a tailored approach, really. The one thing that I haven't sent to you is the Student Code of Conduct, because we're still doing quite a lot of work trying to get a lot of student feedback on what that should look like. Should it even be called a Student Code of Conduct? And some other colleagues are dealing with that at the moment, so I haven't really got anything to show you on that. But if you've got any particular views around, what does kind of good behaviour, bad behaviour look like? What would you expect as a Christchurch student in terms of values and expected behaviours? Any comments that you've got on that, please do let me know. I don't think I'll probably say it any more than that, because I want to hear from you. Except to say, I don't know, Ben, how you want to, do you want to sort of go through each document or sort of just open it up to discussion on all?
I think to start with, just open it up, see if anyone's got any kind of opening comments. People had a chance to read all through this and sort of what's everyone's opinions to start off with, I think, and then we can kind of hone it down into the specific documents.
Mhm.
So really, I just want to open up to everyone. What are people's thoughts on the disciplinary procedures, the code of conduct study are? Do you think they work as they are? Do you think they need tweaking? Um, do you like the idea of the sexual misconduct being separated as a separate document? I know that can be a little bit of a tricky subject to talk about as well. So if you do have any kind of comments that you want to give to Anna, but don't want to do it in a sort of more public forum, I'm sure Anna would be more than happy to take those by email as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take that as everyone is feeling pretty good about it so far. I know we've had a few feedbacks, and I think there's been a couple of people who've been involved in your work with this
Mm.
already. So I think they
Mm.
probably have given their feedback into this document. What kind of feedback have you been receiving from students that's formulated these documents?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Ben. There have been colleagues in this room who have been involved at different sort of parts of the process. In terms of feedback that we've had from students, we did get a lot of feedback that they liked the idea of having a separate sexual misconduct policy, which, you know, totally resonates, I think, with what a lot of colleagues in the university were thinking too. So apart from anything else, we really want to demonstrate how important the university, how you know, important we see this, and I think having a separate procedure, even if it is part of kind of a bigger basket of procedures, I think that sends a really important message. So that was one area of feedback around having that as a separate document. We've been doing a number of sort of social media polls and things like that around the student behaviours and what students might like to see in those kind of conduct documents. So a lot has come out around respect, respecting each other, respecting, you know, behaving respectfully to each other. A lot has been around compassion and kindness and showing care for each other, and sort of respecting individuals' dignity and points of view. Funnily enough, something that came out really strongly was actually punctuality, being on time for lectures, being conscious of if you're coming in late, coming quietly, you know, and don't disrupt, you know, some activity that's already taking place, and being conscious of, you know, noise and that sort of thing. So just generally being courteous and respectful to each other. And there's a range of suggestions around what that should be called. So we've had quite a few people saying some sort of code of conduct, student code, behavior code, those types of things, using the word code. And then the other popular one was around using the phrase expected behaviors. So expected behaviours of Christchurch students, that, you know, that type of thing, and a few suggestions around that. We've also been working quite closely with the Student Wellbeing Service, who support a lot of students who are going through or have disclosed that they've been subject to either harassment or sexual misconduct. And so we wanted to get feedback from them, if they felt able to sort of give feedback on how the process had felt. And then the other area that where we're seeking feedback is from some of the sort of external support charities, so places like East Kent Rape Crisis Centre, and a domestic violence charity called Rising Sun that's in the region as well. So we're just trying to get as many views from people who are really involved in or have been involved in those types of things as possible. Sorry, I know it was a lot of reading. They're quite long.
No, I do like the idea of them being called expected behaviours rather than yet another code of conduct, which sounds very, doesn't come across too good, but no. So has anyone got any comments that they'd like to add or would like to ask Anna any questions in regards to the documents or on how they kind of been developed over time, or if you would like to get involved?
I think on my first look of the unacceptable behaviour policy, I think it's quite good so far. I would just like a bit more clarity on what it means by hate crimes. That could encompass quite a few different things and different ranges of crimes that might be committed against a person based on protected characteristics. So I think just on first look, I'd like a bit more clarity on what it means by that and what's protected by the student union and what might not constitute hate crime.
Yeah, that's really helpful. What I've done, because what we intend to do is put all of this into kind of a single web page, single suite of documents, so it should be a bit more cohesive. And at the very end of the disciplinary procedure, on the final page, we've got a sort of glossary of terms, but what it doesn't have is hate crime. So I wonder if we add hate crime as one of the definitions, just to clarify what do we mean by that. So thank you for that. That's really helpful.
No, it's a very good point. Hate crime can be quite a broad concept in terms of what we're talking about. It could be discrimination against someone for a particular aspect of their health, or it could just be aggressive behavior. So I think that definition is definitely important. Okay, did anyone have any other comments that they wanted to add in at all? Any other points they wanted to raise, or any other aspects of the document you wanted to see developed further? I think everyone is very happy with the work so far then.
Oh, that's fantastic. If I can just tell you one thing that's sort of hot off the press. We've had quite a lot of problems with students in our accommodation breaching health and safety type issues. So things like covering smoke alarms, letting off fire extinguishers, propping open fire doors, all kind of like fire safety related. And there's been some quite serious incidents where we're just quite lucky, to be honest, that nobody was really hurt. And we've been looking at how can we deter students from doing those sorts of things, because at the moment it doesn't feel like anything is deterring people from doing that. So one thing that the university's senior management team approved, and this was last week, so it needs to go into these procedures, is to reintroduce fines, so financial fines. We used to do that under the accommodation license, but then there was a law passed and it became illegal for us to do that. So we haven't done that for a long time. We don't charge fines for anything, but most universities do for kind of fire related incidents. So that will be something that we're putting in for the new academic year. So we want to do quite a lot of a kind of campaign to students about, look, you mustn't do this. What we'll probably have, because the Kent Fire Service do a kind of fire awareness course. So what we'll probably do is on a first kind of offence or first breach, like speed awareness. We'll ask the student to go on this fire awareness course and say, look, if you do it again, it will be a fine, and sort of go through a kind of escalation process. So it wouldn't necessarily be a fine first time, but it would probably be that fire awareness course. Anastasia, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just to ask, is all of these codes of conduct and expected behavior going to be also for university held accommodations?
Yes, so it will apply everywhere. So on campus, in the accommodations, off campus as well. So last year, when we had all of like the COVID regulations from the government, we did take a number of students through a formal disciplinary process because they had off campus gatherings that breached the government guidelines. They also, the police were called and all of that stuff. So it includes off campus, on campus, in accommodation, sort of everywhere, basically.
Because I think that the more consistency that there is between who knows about it and who follows it, the better.
Yeah.
Like I've heard of different situations this year where student accommodation action was trying to be taken to support students in their situations, but it wasn't, I think, taken as seriously as it needed to be, for sure. So I think that hopefully with this in place and the consistency with it, it should help. Because it shouldn't be that other students are made to feel uncomfortable in their accommodation because of it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, you're so right. We need to make sure that it's absolutely applied consistently everywhere.
And that students are aware of it. So like maybe in the induction package or somehow they can be known about it, in maybe not the whole full long lengthy document, but the condensed to the point version of what isn't acceptable.
Yeah, definitely. One thing we thought about doing is putting it on tea towels for the fire, safety stuff, putting it on tea towels and putting that in all of the accommodation. Alice.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Amazing. I somehow turned off my mic. My only question is, in the first instance of a fine being given, how much are we looking at for the fine? Because it's definitely a serious thing that people do need to have a repercussion for, but we need to make sure that it doesn't put them in a really difficult position. I don't know how else to explain it, but that's just my one concern.
Yeah, you're totally right. We haven't yet got a sort of list of what things will equal what amount of money. We're developing that this week, and then it will need to be approved by the senior management team. It's a tricky one because it has to be enough to act as a deterrent, but at the same time it can't be sort of ridiculous. So it's about trying to get a balance, really, and that's also why we don't want it as like the first penalty. So if we can have the first penalty as going on a awareness course and make it really, really clear to the student, look, if you do it again, there will be a fine, just, so they really know this is what they're looking at. And obviously we've got to do a lot of communications around that as well to raise awareness. So at the moment, I don't know, but I can certainly, when those are agreed or when I have them, I can certainly forward them to Ben, perhaps, so that he can circulate them to this group, and then you can comment as well.
I think that'd be great. Thank you. I think Chris.
Definitely. in every part of the disciplinary procedure, a student can challenge the decision. So whatever the decision is, whether it's even going just on a fire awareness course, or whether it's a fine, or whether it's whatever the decision is, there is always a right to challenge it. But the other thing I probably should say is that we're proposing that any money that comes to the university through fines is put into the student hardship fund, because what we don't want to do is kind of look like the university's profiting from, we want to give it back to students, and through the student hardship fund seems like a good way to do that.
Absolutely. I was going to say that's generally what I would say. That's going to be your biggest counterpoint to it. One other thing I would probably say in regards to things where you're at the point where you need to issue fines, some of the examples you gave, potentially it's because people don't have the facilities available to them, so they're kind of ad hocing it, MacGyvering it. So covering the fire alarm, keeping the fire door open, it screams to me as someone who wants to go smoking, but there's no facility available to them to smoke, so they'll do the next best thing. Would that be something that could be considered as well, if there is potentially scope to improve the facilities, essentially, to allow this? Because if you make it easier for people to follow the rules, I think you will be less likely to have to punish or fine people, and I think that's a much more organic and better way of dealing with it than just issuing fines, which can cause a level of resentment.
Oh, definitely, and you're absolutely spot on. A lot of this is to do with smoking. So if we can improve the facilities that are available, then we absolutely will do, and I'll feed that back to our estates and facilities team who are working with me on this as well, to see if there's any particular areas, and if from your own experiences, if there are any areas where the facilities aren't what you would expect, please do let me know, so that I can feed that back to make sure those are the areas they can target.
So I know in Peer Keys, for example, they've had over 170 false fire alarms in the last 3 years. I keep a tally because it's getting ridiculous. And then you get what you get is the crying wolf syndrome, where people do not react to a fire alarm whatsoever. The solution, of course, is multi-zone fire alarms. So if two fire alarms adjacent to each other set each other off, then it will set off alarm, or a silent alarm is another method to do so. So it sort of is a bit more comprehensive in terms of just there's heat here, let's set off the fire alarm. Oh, it's in the kitchen. It's probably just someone who tried to cook some sausages, and the fire alarm is directly above the cooker.
Yeah.
So I think there are some sensibilities to be done in terms of stuff like that as well. But yeah, that's sort of the big thing I hear back is so much false fire alarms that people don't bother reacting to them, or they'll try to dismantle or disable them because it's just another one, and they're not going to react to it anyway, which is completely against what a fire alarm is there for.
Yeah. Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Right. Does anyone else have any more questions or comments for Anna before we let her go on her merry way? Right. Thank you very much for coming.
Sorry.
Anna.
I'm so sorry. Is that back to the hate crimes thing? I'd be interested in working with you to making sure the hate crimes, that part of the code of conduct, is inclusive of trans students as well, because I feel like when we're talking about hate crimes, they're often quite left out. That's all.
Definitely. I'll come back to you offline about that, and we can work together about what you think would be best, sort of in terms of clarifying that and making sure we have got that prominently in there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. And Dan, you'd be happy to bring that back to council at some point. Fantastic. Right then, Anna, thank you very much for coming.
Yep. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.
Excellent. Right. Moving swiftly on to the SAB reports. Dan, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, can do. I won't say too much. Feels like we've just had a meeting like a couple of days ago. It seemed so quick. But there's a couple of things from me. The first thing is that on Wednesday, I'm unsure how many of you are in your final year and possibly looking for work, but on Wednesday there's a student recruitment fair, and this is going to be in the where is it, canteen. I've been working with the university on this, and it's a chance to look at jobs within the university. So IT, estates, finance, admissions, careers and enterprise, sport and active health, marketing. There's going to be lots and lots of stalls there, and obviously in a struggling job market, I suppose it's a good thing to for the university, especially to look at their own students for jobs. So that's one thing. On Saturday, there's an event for Ukrainians who are in Canterbury. The university are looking for some volunteers. You might have seen on my Facebook. It's going to be at Augustine Hall. So they're going to be there's going to be stalls at the event for with organisations that are helping Ukrainians in the city, speakers, MPs, a Q&A, and they just like some volunteers to help out, just with on the door stuff and showing people around. In terms of what our SAB's been doing in general, I'll leave a lot to Frankie. I know she had her mental health awareness week a couple of weeks ago, and we've been going down to Medway, lots of meetings and all that stuff, but Frankie can chip in. And just to say, actually, I didn't realise it was our final meeting, actually, so just say thank you, Ben, for being such an excellent chair, and thank you for everybody for all of the input this year. And I think, a lot's happened, and it's all been, hopefully really positive, and next year even more so. So it's been a pleasure.
It's definitely an exciting opportunity to work at the university. If you're sort of struggling what to do after, I would definitely say go check that out. Is that going to be replicated in Medway at all at any point, or is that just down in Canterbury?
At the moment, it's just going to be in Canterbury. It's one of those things. The university have put it on quite late in the year, so a lot of students will have gone, and they sort of said to me, "What do you think we should still do it, or should they leave it?" And I said, "Do it. Just do it in Canterbury this year. Just see how it goes." And because they haven't, like I say, they did it quite late, and I did ask them about Medway, and they said if it's fairly successful this year, what they're going to try and do next year is to host it earlier in the year, which I said was quite crucial, I think, because you're not going to catch that many students next week, and they'll be doing it in both campuses as well. So
definitely earlier is something I would say, because a lot of students will have already ascertained where they're going, sort of destination wise. Particularly most of the Medway people will have started applications back in September, so you kind of want to start thinking about it almost at the start of the academic year to give people a choice there which direction they want to take in. And I believe we had a message come through there, which is there an official poster or web page we can pass on to students? I think this offers some great opportunities.
I'm just going to try and find the web page. When I've been on campus this week in Canterbury, there's been quite a few posters around. Let me find it. Yeah, here we go. I'll just pop that into the chat so you can have a look. I think that should explain the event.
Most excellent. Right, thank you very much, Dan. Frankie, what have you been up to?
Well, a lot of meetings. We're just starting to organise things with the new year now, so like fresher planning and stuff like that. I had Mental Health Awareness Week, which we held quite a few events. We did a free hot drink station in Medway, and then we did the walk and talk event in Canterbury, where we took the students around the cathedral, and quite a few students didn't know they could go around there for free, so it was like a good awareness that they can actually go around their city and actually get a few free things. And then we held a coffee afternoon as well in the lounge, and there was a lot of posts as well. I haven't really been out so much else. Well, if I have, I can't remember. And then Maddie sends her apologies. And she had our varsity cricket game last week, which we won the 2 first games. So men's and women's first teams won. And we both are in our handover periods. So we've got Max here, who's taken over Maddie's role. And Inez couldn't make it today because she's at work, but we're just going through that period right now as well. But I can't remember what else I've done. I went to Bedway today actually as well, so just come back.
Most excellent. It's still standing then. It's nice to see that the freshers have been reintroduced. I think people have had a couple of years where they've not been able to socialise as much as they want to because of everything going on with the pandemic. So it would be nice to see a real turnout for freshers. Even if I can't participate in it anymore, I might just turn off anyway.
I'm just going to reiterate what Dan said as well, to thank you, Ben. You've been a brilliant chair, and thanks to all you officers, because it's been amazing working with you all.
If you're talking, you're currently on mute, my friend.
Sorry, I think you were on mute. Were you talking to me? Sorry.
Yeah, Francis, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say in regards to freshers and that side of things, sort of, are there going to be many activities sort of aimed at sort of the parents and the mature student side of things, in addition to sort of the, shall we say, fresh out of school students who are going to events? Sort of, I know that's something that's mentioned to me sometimes, is sort of, what is there that we can do, sort of, yeah.
We do try and keep that all in mind when we are planning events. I know last year we definitely had, we did a coffee afternoon for mature students, I think. I can't remember. We definitely did one at some point. I don't know if that was during Freshers Week. And then we are trying to look over the weekends, especially during move-in periods as well. But I will make sure I'll take that back to our meetings we have. Thank you.
It'd be really cool to have something that, I would say, even have to bring the kids to, but sort of just something that sort of we can go to as sort of, for me, it's a struggle to sort of go to a lot of refresher stuff, especially if I'm caregiving, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely get that in mind. Thank you for bringing that up. And also, I don't know whether Max wants to introduce himself to everyone. I don't know. I'll put him on the spot, but it's up to him.
Yeah, I can. I'm just walking about at the moment, so I won't embarrass myself with my photo. But yeah, hello everybody. It's nice to see you all and kind of jump in on this meeting. So yeah, like I think Dan or Frankie mentioned, I'm going to be taking over kind of Maddie's position in the coming months. So very excited to get started and to kind of meet you all and do some work. But yeah, that's me.
Oh, thank you very much, Rex. It's a pleasure to meet you. Right, did anyone have any questions that they wanted to give up to Dan and Frankie? And Francis says, welcome, Max. Alice. Alice, your mic.
Am I not here?
There you go. Now you are.
Ah, amazing. I was just saying I was struggling to find it because I couldn't. I've not had enough tablets today. I'm wobbling all over the place. It's all good. Yeah, so I just have a very quick question that I probably need to ask you offline more than here. But I've had a student come to me that's got things going on, which means that they haven't been able to submit their final dissertation. And they've went to the disability team to see what they can do. And they've said, speak to your course director. The course director said, we're not sure. We don't know who to send you to. And I don't know what to do because it's obviously the first time I've had to deal with dissertation stuff. And obviously they're a bit anxious because it's their biggest thing that they've got to hand in. And I don't know if it's anything that you guys can do to
Absolutely. I
Oh.
think that needs to go down sort of the extenuating circumstances extension route, which should be supported by the program director about these examples, and then they can,
Yeah.
from there, they can issue work on what kind of additional information that they need. Without going into the details of whatever is going on with that particular student, I found that system should be very flexible to address a lot of people. If they are getting stuck at that particular point, I think take it back to union, and then we can have a look
Yeah.
at seeing if there's some way we can help grease the wheels, or were in that sort of sense. Does that
Yeah.
sound okay to you, Dan, Frankie? I know this is more sort of your sort of remit. Yeah, but that's kind of where my thought process would be to do. So Chris just put a message there. If you get them to contact representation and advice team on
Yeah.
advice@ccsu.co.uk.
I will do that. Thank you.
Cool. It does sometimes. It is a little bit complicated sometimes. I know they've redone the whole page on it. After I believe we did have a discussion about it at the start of the year, saying it's not clear about how to use extensions. And also the rules changed ever so slightly in regards to the pandemic, which I believe are back down to normal now. But if they are getting stuck at any point, bring it back to the council, because that's definitely, it's supposed to be a streamlined process and as stress-free as possible, because students who are looking for extenuating circumstances are in extenuating circumstances, and they don't need additional stress on top of the stress they're already having.
Yeah.
It's counterintuitive.
Thank you. I will speak to them later and tell them what to do. Or
No
give
worries.
them suggestions, not tell them what to do. That's the wrong way of saying it. I'm very tired as always. We know this. I'm going to shut up now.
It's fine. I feel like that until at least 12 o'clock, and then about 2 o'clock, I'm like, well, it's time for bed. Get that window of opportunity where I'm actually optimal. Excellent. Did anyone have any other questions for Frankie or Dan at all? Everyone's smiling and happy. Fantastic. Right, so moving swiftly on, we're going to talk. So I'm assuming everyone's happy with the minutes from last meeting. No complaints there, so we can move straight on. So Dan, on 3.2, meeting with the Dean of Health and Social Care. Would you like?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I won't be able to have as a final meeting have a conclusive update on this one. But yeah, me and Anna are meeting the Dean in the next month or so. Should be by the end of June to discuss findings and work on action plans. And I would say we can bring it back to this meeting, but I guess it was something I can bring in September as to what we found and what the Dean and what promises that they're making from that. So yeah, no conclusive update. My apologies, but that is happening the next month.
No worries, that's absolutely fine. Bring it to the next council meeting. It won't be me, but let's not lose things just because we've had summer holiday. And I believe you're the next point as well.
Yep. So the next one, I still wasn't sure, but Anna, I asked Anna. She said that she spoke to you and spoke to Alice, I think, from PLU. And she said, what did she say? Agreed that each school seemed to have a plan, didn't get any complaints, haven't heard anything since. She said, by the time we heard about it, the plans had already been made, so it's too late to have a real conversation. She said that there wanted to be work done to a handbook to guide students wanting to set up their own placements, but apparently this would have been very complex legal information and different for every course, and that the PLU doesn't have the staff, so that it wouldn't be happening. That was the update that Anna gave me. I don't know if, Ben, that makes sense to you.
Yeah, that does make sense. So obviously there's quite a lot of legislation in regarding to insurance, I think, is the big thing, particularly around clinical placement. So paramedics, for example, I can talk to, is they're insured up to £5,000 per student, 5 million, dependent on the activity, and it's very specific on what activities they can do. Does elective count for that? I think that puts you onto your own personal indemnity insurance. Nice, lots of complicated things. So I think the PLU's strategy of going, yeah, we're not doing that is probably one for streamlining more than anything. I think one of the things that would have been nice to hear from it is PLU made the change to cancel electives, and they seem to have done so autonomously without any conversation or consultation with the union or with any students whatsoever, which I think is something that they would definitely be good to work on if they had to do this again in the future. Any sort of major substantial changes should have student consultation and feedback too. And I think that's kind of the point we were trying to drive home with the PLU, is to engage with both the faculty and the students and the union before making these sort of quite sweeping and changes, because effectively a lot of the medical students now have the next 6 weeks off where there is no planned academic work because this was their elective period. Right. And Dan, I believe you're the next one as well in regards to
Yeah.
PLU again, but this was specifically the LSF stuff.
Yes, so many points. Yeah, obviously this one was very shocking to hear, and I got lots and lots back from the university about this. They said a couple of things going on. COVID delays had experienced some backlogs as a consequence of that had swept through the administrative teams, and they've caught up on their normal processing time, which is 2 weeks from receipt of claims back. But they think there's been similar issues with NHS BSA, but they won't have communicated this to us. They said, upon reflection, we should have sent out some communications to students when we hit these staffing issues to alert them the longer anticipated delays. They said they've not managed expectations as well as they could. They said that Charlotte introduced weekly surgery hours for students to drop in with queries, and it's become clear that many students think that the uni held the cash locally for reimbursing their travel. And they went on, but I don't think that really answered what was happening. And they also said they're working on providing a better understanding of the travel claims process for students, such as more info on Blackboard, a fact sheet, and presenting the information when the students start. And they're running weekly drop-in sessions on Tuesday afternoon where students come in, see one of the team face-to-face, discuss anything placement related. And they say they're committed to being proactive in providing a positive student experience. I sound like I'm on Watchdog and I've like asked somebody for their, but anyway, all in all, they said they're investigating it. I sent them your case specifically, Ben, with your permission, and this was about a week and a half ago, and they told me that they were investigating it. With Olivera's case, I spoke to her privately as well and said that she didn't want me to do it. She was doing her own thing, and so it's a shame she's not here because I haven't followed up with her in the last week. But basically, they're investigating it. So I guess it's back to you, Ben. Are you still having the same issue? Have you heard anything from them? Has anything actually been done? And I hope you don't say no, but
right. So, funny enough, I've received one of the year's payments that I've expected, and it's not the earliest one. So there is 2 payments. Well, I've got 3 payments outstanding. One of them is something that is recent, so within timescale. I've got one that I claimed back in November. That's been complete. That's disappeared from the system. I contacted the NHS BSA, and they said haven't received it whatsoever. And again, with my second claim, haven't received it whatsoever. So there seems to be a void between university and the NHS, and where we're sending documents, they're falling into this void. So definitely, I think there should be some streamlining on processes for this. I believe they need to prioritize the process of refunding students for their expenses as one of their key activities, for the simple fact is that students don't have a lot of money to be running off, and placement can be very expensive. So the LSF isn't just travel expenses. If people are going to the point where they're needing to use accommodation, that pays for that as well. So in my example, I've been almost £1,000 under of what I should have done, and that's caused hardship for me. Other students are going to be feeling the squeeze as well. So it's definitely something that needs improvement and looking upon. Investigation is a good start to this, but also I would hope that they come up with a clear action plan on how they're going to improve moving forwards as well. Investigation is great for telling us that there is a problem and the specifics for the problem, but also beyond that, they also need to decide on how they're going to deal with it in a timely manner. So it's good to hear that they're getting there. More work to be done.
Yeah.
And I hope that this doesn't get dropped with the next year, that it is continued upon. I know it's a teething process because this is quite a new feature available. And I look forward to it being streamlined and improved upon.
Yeah, it'd be great to obviously pick this up with you offline, to carry on your individual case, but also to talk to you about what action plan we can bring to them in terms of changes. So yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Did anyone have any questions or things to add on to those last couple of points? I know we kind of zoomed through those. Everyone's happy? Yep, brilliant. Smiles all round. That's what we like to see. Right. Max, would you like to start off with the next point, which is a better utilization of the Redan composter?
Yeah, so I was talking to a few people, and yeah, so a bit of background. A few years ago, the student union, along with Ellie Martin, bought either in full or partly with the university, I can't remember, a really big composter, which is at Gate 4 on campus. The original plan would be for all the university kitchen and CAF food scraps from the kitchens, not like from served food, would go in there to create compost, which the sustainability unit and Grounds and Gardens will use a compost, blah, 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 blah. Due to various factors of COVID, they're not actually being on campus accommodation anymore, and just lowering numbers of people who use the food services. There's less and less food waste, and it hasn't really been used that much. So me and a few other people were thinking it would be quite nice to relaunch it as more of a community composter for either students or people in the local area, like nearby. Both it's a good way of branching out sustainability information to those around us, and secondly, there's no nice way to say this, but it is a good bit of PR. PR is always good. Yeah, and I felt this is the most applicable place to come and ask permission to do it, because it is mostly the student unions kind of thing.
Excellent, thank you. Did anyone have any questions for Max about composting? I know it's something I've done before in Brighton. I know it does a huge amount of benefit. Dan?
Yeah, not specifically about composting itself, but just to say that, yeah, agree with what you put forward. Spoke to Ellie Martin about it, and yeah, we said we'll work with the Student Green Office to make it happen, and yeah, we'll get in touch as soon as possible to discuss.
Thank you.
Sounds very positive. Maybe something to consider as well is expanding it into the Medway campus as well. We eat up here as well, despite popular belief, and having a good opportunity to grab their waste scraps as well, and possibly working with the Kent and Greenwich universities to grab their food waste, which I'm sure they'll be more than happy to participate in. Anastasia, if you'd like to go first.
It could also be a good idea to get in contact with students that have like education placements to see to either bring their students from the placement to the uni to see it and teach them what it's all about. See if we can use that composter for the placements as well. That could be a good way to again expand sustainability into the education as well.
Very excellent point there. And Alice.
I did it. Yay. Another question that I do have in relation to food waste, I'm not sure if it's food waste or just food non-usage, is the food that's left over at the end of the day, what do we do with that? Do we just put it in the bin? Or do we give that to people that need it? Because there's a lot of people that need it, and it's going to get tougher in a few months' time because everything's getting more squeezing. So I think it could be an idea to use the leftover food that we've got at uni.
So would you be saying that's more regarding sort of how we're using our surplus food supplies?
Yeah, I don't know if that's even to do with composting because I'm not sure if you'd compost the food that's still good to eat.
I think it's definitely a wider question. Max,
Yeah.
do you want to jump in?
I have, during my time in the Student Green Office, I have asked that same question. How the composter works is it can only have non-cooked food, so it can only have raw stuff.
Okay.
But I have asked and have inquired and can't fully remember, so I'll ask again for you, because some universities use like services like Too Good To Go, which is basically if there's anything left, we sell it on really cheap.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with that is because where they are cooking so little, there's not much, or there's not enough for that kind of thing, unfortunately. But I will relook into it and get back to you on that one.
Just popped into my head, so I thought I'd say it. That's probably normally what happens with my brain. It goes, "Oh, this is an idea. Let's shout it out." Sorry.
Nothing wrong with ideas and shouting them out. This is what we like to see. Francis.
I know with the sandwiches sort of in the cafe on the main campus, I've forgotten what it's called. They sort of give them away free essentially. If you happen to be passing by between 6 and 8 on a weekday evening, then you can just get however many free sandwiches you want, and that's sort of a good way of getting rid of it. And it does help probably. I don't know if that could be more organised or more fit with people that actually need them rather than hungry students leaving lectures. But yeah, just something that I've noticed they do, which is a really good thing, but could be a bit more structured maybe.
Absolutely. Possibly with the composting idea, also seeing what local charities or groups are about that do things like gleaning or salvaging of farmland nearby to make use of the waste products as well, if they would be interested in participating, is a potential avenue to go down as well. So definitely some bits and pieces. No, that'd be interesting to see. I think food wastage is obviously something that's very critical. Food shortages are definitely going to be something that is going to be highlighted over the winter, particularly with our upcoming energy crises. Crisi, whatever the plural of crisis is. And so definitely something to keep an eye on over the winter months. Right. Did anyone have any further comments or questions on that particular aspect? I think we're fairly unanimous in to continue the work of the composter, so I don't think we should do a vote or anything on that. It's fairly universal. People like composting, and it does look good for the environments. Right, so moving on. Olivia's not with us, unfortunately. She's stuck on the London buses, and my condolences as someone who had to navigate those for about 2 hours. I got lost, which is nothing new. But she wanted to talk about SCA trophies. Dan, did you have a little bit you could talk about this at all? Because I'm not entirely clued on what this is about.
Yeah, I think this is probably more of a Frank's thing.
Frank.
Yeah, I can talk about this a little bit, but not that much. But I think most of our awards throughout the years, they don't get taken by students; they get engraved with the winners. And I think it just got lost in translation on the evening that they needed to come back because obviously everyone was, a bit merry and it was very loud and stuff. And on our fault, it should have been interesting. Like I said at the beginning of the night, going, these got to be given back at the end of the evening and stuff like that. So what I've spoken to Olivia about it as well in person and said it'd be something that we take away, especially now that we would make sure it's very well known from the beginning of the event that they won't be taken and they will be engraved and get some certificates as well sorted, because I know that the half colours and full colours had certificates, so it could be that we get certificates done for this year's winners in place of the trophies once the trophies are back, because we still haven't actually received any of them back yet. But yeah, it will be something that will be made more clear in the future.
Is it something that we could get at least a small trophy for people to take, or something? I know certificates work, but people like a little bit of glassware, or something little minor. Is that something that's potentially could be looked at?
We can look into it. It's just funding for our awards is very, very small. So we, especially this year, we had to keep it very minimal for awards, but it could be something we look into next year, and it could be something that could be brought in the next few years once the awards have a big take up again, because I know that this year we were very we were expecting a lot more engagement and we didn't get as much as we normally did, because we were obviously looking at numbers from before COVID. But obviously now that people know what the awards are like and stuff like that, we're hoping that the numbers will pick up, so then it could be something we can invest in like later on in a couple of years that have like a small trophy.
Yeah, I think you could get them from about £7 upwards. So potentially we could ask our university to be like, well,
it's like do puppy dog eyes to the university.
You probably do better puppy dog eyes than I would.
Just cry to them.
And we've got a hand up there.
Yeah, I just talking about the trophies, but you mentioned about it's telling me to lower my hand. You mentioned about the half colours and full colours, because I think the badges are really nice. So even just surely you could just take that sort of layout of the badge that you've already got and just make it a little bit bigger so you can write on the award that people have got, because I think it's like something small, because like trophies are nice, but then you sort of just put it on your shelf and it's just kind of there. You can't really just take it out with you. But I think the badges are nice, because I see people who have half or full colours and they put it on their lanyards so then they can walk around with it, and I have done that myself actually. So it's definitely, I think having the certificate's cool, but like Ben was saying, it's hard because obviously it's a bigger award, so you want to give people like a trophy. So you can still have the trophy with the engraving on the night, but just like you said, make it clear that it's got to be handed back. But then they also get to keep like a little badge or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll keep that in mind for when I start planning for the SCAs next year in my new role. It's also, I think that's actually a pretty good idea, especially for those, like if you get like a committee, like the whole SOC wins, so then the committee might be able to get a badge. But I'll look into it, because obviously some of the titles for those awards are very long, so you might need like a very long long badge. But I'll have a little look into it. Thank you.
Fantastic. Did anyone have anything additional they wanted to add on in regards to that? Anastasia.
It could be that each like award title has like a logo, and then the pin or the badge has the logo of it. So you don't have to write out the whole thing. So then on the trophy, it's the whole phrase with the logo, and then just the badge has the logo. saves the words.
Excellent.
We can get the new USEC to design all of them.
Awesome. Brilliant. Right. Was there any other business at all that people wanted to raise? Any questions, comments, ideas, or things that are going on with their prospective seats? Alice, please go ahead.
Hi, I have oh, my voice went very weird there. Sorry about that. I have a very quick update on the focus groups, LSP, fun stuff. I'm not with it today. I'm very sorry. Yeah, so I messaged all of the people that were interested before I had my mental breakdown. Let's not put that in the minutes, but yeah, and they're all happy to do it again. I just need to finalise times and dates. Well, I've got dates, times with Dan to just figure out where it fits with both of our schedules, and then they'll finally be going ahead. Woo! Cannot wait to actually have them going ahead. Oh my god.
Brilliant, fantastic. This is definitely something I think a lot of people have had trouble with over the last couple of years. So it's a really good piece of work that you're doing there, and congratulations for securing it. You're doing a really good job.
Thank you. If anyone has anyone or they want to be involved, please let me know, because I've still got as many places as we need, really. Yeah, just let me know.
Fantastic. We'll make sure to send them your way. And messages are all saying, well done, you're doing a great job. Anastasia, I believe you're next.
Yeah, something that we were just wondering maybe that could be looked into next year, because I'm not sure how applicable it might be now as well, is that within the masters, some of our classes have obviously been all in the evenings. And so what that has really meant was that all the services at the university have been shut by the time we got there. There were obviously the occasional vending machines, but some of them would just eat up our money and not give the stuff out. But anyway, that's another thing. Just that if we can see if next year either if a stand could be provided for master students, or if they could extend the hours by like closing at 7 to at least like the first hour when students have class. I know that's more employment and maybe not that many students are there at that time, but if there could just be a push for just that something, because you can tell that when all the students come, they really do feel like the university is just kind of honestly dead, or just not there for them in that way. Just if we can, I don't know, push for something, or I'm not sure if in the I don't know what the hours are like for touchdown in the summer, but I know that a lot of our classes do go all year, so I don't like all summer. So I'm not sure if again that's something that we can look into starting now for the summer, where at least the day is longer. There's some services provided. That's a bit of a long run, but.
So would that be sort of reviewing sort of what late night facilities there are available?
Basically, yeah.
And seeing what we can do to improve upon that.
Yeah, basically, because it's honestly not fair.
Frankie.
I know you brought this to me at the beginning of the year, Anastasia. I did bring it up to facilities. I haven't done a very good job pushing it, so maybe it's something I'll work on next year and in the summer for what we can do, because they did say about having like a little hot drinks area in the postgrad room, but
I think they started, but then they forgot cups, which made it really difficult.
That makes it difficult to drink a hot drink, doesn't it? Okay. I'll have a conversation with them and try and push it a bit more again.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say ideally for this summer, since we are all still here, maybe have like a little post-grad something on the evening that we know we have class, because it's not as consistent. But at least for next year, I'm happy to, even if this year's coming to an end, I'm so happy to help to push it.
You can get vending machines that dispense hot food and soups and stuff as well, I believe. Might be something to look into.
Our library has, I think, hot food thingy. I can't remember if it's hot food.
Yeah, they do.
Cool.
But that's the library.
I think that's something that's definitely good to take away, have a review. Frankie's already on it, as always. So just a case of keep pushing the university to see what we can do about that. Dan, would you like to jump in?
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to provide an update on the pronoun situation with Blackboard, where I was discussing with the Blackboard team about getting the pronoun options expanded. I spoke with Sam about that whole situation. It was really productive. It was really receptive, and I put together a list of what I saw, through my research I saw to be the most popular neo-pronouns that gender diverse people use, and I put that to him, and he wants to put together a mechanism through which students, if they use pronouns that aren't on the list that I've given, that they can suggest their pronouns and they can be added to Blackboards, and vice versa, a mechanism through which if the pronouns aren't being used by people, they can then be removed. And he wanted to work with the student union to get that in place. So I suppose that's a case for myself and the other two LGBT officer places, but I just thought it was worth a mention.
No, it's really good work. It's important. Identification is definitely an important aspect. It's really good that you're making progress, and it's really good to hear that they are being receptive to this as well. Look forward to seeing future work on that. And good job so far.
Thank you.
Right. So, do we have any other updates or reports or questions, discussions that we wish to talk about? Or is everyone happy, content, and it's getting closer to dinner time? Yeah, fantastic. In which case, I bring our final meeting to a close. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honor for the last year. Well, for the last couple of years now, because I'll be qualifying, hopefully, as long as my dissertation passes. Anyone who's been on here, I know I've spoken this to a few people now, but if you think you want to do the chair job next year and you're not sure whether you can do it, I'm going to give you this piece of advice. You can and you should.